Hello, one and all. It's my view of My Hero Academia, Chapter 347, Inflation. And I've got to say, I was seriously underestimating how much of a threat Shigaraki posed to the heroes right here. I mean, last chapter ended with him growing a whole bunch of fingers and hands for some reason, but I assumed, oh, whatever, it's a giant club he can beat people with until Deku shows up and saves the day. Huzzah! No, because as it turns out, Shigaraki can make a whole lot of fingers. Enough to actually turn himself into a form larger than UA. I think he's currently larger than Gigantomachia, which is really saying something. I mean, that dude literally has giant in his name. And what's more, all of these fingers he's created are still technically part of his body, meaning that if Monoma takes his eyes off of Shigaraki for even a single second, then Shigaraki can activate Decay and destroy UA all at once in a single second, way faster than they can repair the broken parts. So, yeah, it's bad. Really, really bad. And as for Deku coming in to save the day, that's fairly unlikely given that he's currently on Okuto Island, which is 200 kilometers off the shore. And Deku, I mean, he can fly, he can float kinda, but I don't think he can travel 200 kilometers, in a few minutes. I think that would be a rather lengthy journey for him. And if Monoma were to try to open a portal to Deku, that would negate his erasure quirk, and then Shigaraki would destroy everything. So, yeah, it's a pickle. It's certainly a pickle. And I have two different ideas on how this will end. I mean, the first, Best Genius' this one panel seemed to give direction to the Wildcats. My best guess is maybe he told her, okay, let's move all of you away closer to Deku, closer to Okuto Island, so that when we eventually do break down, when eventually Shigaraki breaks free, Deku will be there to lend a helping hand and save the day. Maybe. My other idea, though, is I was actually mistaken last chapter. I assumed that Monoma, Zawa, and Regular were all, in the cage with Shigaraki, even though that would be such an overwhelmingly bad idea. But instead, they seem to be on a floating island just off of UA, which, curious? I mean, I guess that's the powerhouse, the control house for all of this, but there's also the possibility that Kurogiri is inside of this house, this building that's underneath them. And if so, maybe Kurogiri will wake up, maybe Aizawa will be able to, reach out to Kurogiri, get him to wake up, get him to go save Deku and teleport him into the battlefield so Deku can save the day, so Deku can face off against Shigaraki. Maybe. That is a big maybe right there. So first and foremost, we do need to deal with the fact that Deku is facing off against Toga, and while I think she is abso-freaking-lutely adorable, she is probably one of the worst people in the world that Deku can face, because due to her, feelings being all love, she's not trying to murder Deku because she hates him, she's trying to murder Deku because she loves him. Therefore, her attacks aren't being registered by his danger sense, and she can, go in for assassin blows very, very easily. So, yeah, like I said, a very bad matchup for Deku. And I was kind of hoping that maybe, Deku's danger sense didn't go off because Toga wasn't trying to hurt him, she just wanted to talk to him to explain her life. But no, she seems to be full psycho mode right here, as she's blushing and shaking and saying, "For you to be my boyfriend." Oh, Toga, you need help. You need so much help. Also, it seems like she killed a bunch of people as she was coming over to attack Deku, because one dude's in the air bleeding. I'm pretty sure that was because Toga cut him as she was running towards him. So, yeah, that's problematic. Very, very problematic. But Deku and Uraka teaming up to fight Toga, that is not a battle I was expecting, and I'm very excited to see how it goes, because they can both, kind of fly, so seeing them do an aerial fight against her would be interesting, especially because maybe Toga still has some of, I guess she wouldn't have any Uraka's blood left on her, but if she manages to get some of Uraka's blood, then she can fly as well, and the three of them would have a whole mid-air battle. Oh, that could be interesting. That could be really, really interesting. Though again, the big question kind of is, what exactly does Toga want out of this? I mean, normally she says, when I love someone, I want their blood so that I can become them. But by saying she wants Deku to be her boyfriend, is she actually hoping that there is some sort of world, some sort of future, where she can actually be with Deku? Or does she just want enough of Deku's blood that she can, remain as Deku for the rest of her life? Actually, not sure about that. My theory I had a couple chapters ago was that what's going to happen is that Toga will get Deku's blood. She'll inherit the power of One for All, or a copy of One for All, I guess. And then she'll pass the power on to Uraka. I mean, it'd be a very weakened version of the quirk, but it would still contain essentially the essence of Toga's soul, and therefore Toga really would become Uraka. She would become a part of her. That is the best possible ending I can think of for this girl, who is just so insane and in such desperate need of psychological care. I mean, you could argue, oh, maybe she'll get arrested and go to the New Tartarus and get psychological help there, but I mean, even if that does happen, she'll still be all alone because most of her friends in the League of Villains would have been murdered by that point, which would just be, a really depressing ending in my book. I'd much rather have her die and pass her soul on to Uraka to become a part of her. I think it'd be a more satisfying ending in my book. Anyway, though, back to the start of this chapter, Shigaraki explains that his hand growing is all biological. Somehow. I mean, he's defying the law of conservation of mass, but it is still somehow a biological feature. It's basically his way of overcoming any quirks he might inherit that his body isn't capable of absorbing, using properly. I mean, like how Eri isn't able to use her quirk without, causing herself so much pain. He'd be able to morph his body into one that could handle the quirk without damaging himself, somehow, some way. And if I am reading this correctly, it seems like Shigaraki's goal, or at least All for One's goal, or the Doctor's goal, is essentially to turn everyone into him, to give everyone a body similar to his, which is able to evolve and adapt to insane and powerful quirks, which will save the world from the quirk singularity, which does make a certain level of sense. I mean, this is something society as a whole has been pretty much ignoring for quite a while. Each generation has more and more powerful quirks, and eventually you'll get mutators like Shigaraki and Eri who are just so overwhelmingly powerful that they can't control the quirk they're born with and just destroy everything in their path, killing their parents, killing their loved ones, killing everything. So if Shigaraki is successful, if Shigaraki is somehow able to make it so that everyone is like him, has a body like him, then he'll essentially save the world, I guess? Though at a pretty high cost, so not really sure if that's the best plan, but we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, though, the Mirko gets a spare mechanical arm, interesting, and then runs into Bako, who she refers to as Dynamite, which is, oh god, so adorable. And then the two start bickering back and forth, ready to fight, even though they're in the midst of fighting Shigaraki. And when Best Genius tries to, get in the middle, tries to stop them, they threaten to fight him too, which, oh my god, I love these two. I abso-freaking-lutely love these two. This is a new ship for me. This is 100% a new ship for me. Actually, I think Horikoshi did a sketch a while back of Mirko and Bako together, and I get it now. They are so similar. They just really complement one another, and it would be so absolutely adorable to see them become a couple, even though I think there's a fairly significant age difference between them. I mean, I think there is. Okay, so I looked it up. She's 27, he's 17, which, I mean, a bit weird, but certainly in the range of possibility. At the very least, I want Bako to become a sidekick at her agency and just work under her, work with her, basically have her be the big sister Bako always needed. That would be just so absolutely adorable. I love these two together. But anyway, though, then everyone rallies around Best Genius as they prepare to face off against Shigaraki and his army of giant fingers, which seems like it'd be an insurmountable goal, but let's not forget that these fingers are biologically based somehow, and eventually Shigaraki will run out of stamina or whatever force is creating them, so if they can just keep Shigaraki going for as long as possible and Monoma manages not to blink, they'll be able to win this fight. Maybe. That is a big maybe right there. I mean, obviously in terms of storytelling, they're gonna lose. Shigaraki's gonna find a way to take them out somehow, some way. Maybe just it seems like they finally won. A flying Noma will attack Monoma from behind, knock him unconscious, and allow Shigaraki to escape. I could definitely see that. Hopefully by that point they've either managed to win Kurogiri over to their side, or they've managed to pilot Yue over to Okuto Island where Deku is waiting for them. I could see that. Anyway, though, as turns out, the aquarium from the last two chapters is actually on an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and it is run by Gang Orca. He is the director of the aquarium, which, seriously, dude, how much free time do you have? You are a pro hero. You do pro hero work, and yet you're also an aquarium director? I can understand if you were like the owner of it, like an angel investor who ran it from the sidelines, who, just checked in every couple days, but being the director of the aquarium, I feel like that would be a very time-consuming job, so a lot of questions about that. And they are not doing all that well against the Nomu or the escaped cons, including, I think, what's his name, Moonfish? Yeah, we haven't seen that dude since the training camp arc. That was a long time ago. Though I do think we saw him briefly when all the convicts first escaped. I think, not sure about that. Anyway, though, as turns out, the battle is really not going well for the heroes, because even though they have Deku, even though they have the world's basically strongest hero at this point fighting alongside them, they are still basically losing. They're still definitely taking a lot of damage here, which is really, really bad because, this is the battle they set up. They plan to take Toga and these Nomu to the aquarium because that's where they thought they'd have the best chance of winning, and they aren't. They are still losing, so yeah, I know these fights don't really matter all that much. They're really just a way of keeping the Nomu and Shigaraki's best soldiers away from him. But still, if this fight is lost by the heroes, then the Nomu and the villains will manage to team up with Shigaraki, and now it's become such an even more difficult battle. So, yeah, problematic. Very problematic. But anyway, though, speaking of those battles, let's not forget, we still haven't seen how those other fights are going. We had Endeavor and Hawks fighting All for One. We had Shoto fighting Dabi. We had, I think, at least one other fight. There's still a lot going on, and we still have no freaking clue where Spinner is, along with a lot of other villains that we have not seen yet. So, not really sure what their goal is. Maybe attacking the civilians who are still at what used to be UA. That would make a certain amount of sense. Or maybe freeing Gigantomachia, because yeah, there is no way he's out of that fight. He's definitely going to show up some point and just cause a whole lot of chaos and destruction. I am looking forward to seeing that, though. But please, leave us down below. Be sure to like and subscribe to see us next video. And until then, peace! Soundcheck 1 2 1 2. Over.